And all the people said, let me take a moment to say thank you for a wonderful week. The Braswells that let me stay in their guest house, thank y'all. Thank you. I really appreciate it. After yesterday afternoon, I appreciate it even more. Wonderful. Could you build me something like that in the middle of the Smoky Mountains? Thank y'all. It was wonderful. My son, who drove down from Corinth, Pensacola, and stopped with us last night, he spent the night with me, and we just had a good time. Slater, I love you, and I will look forward to the next adventure. And then to 38th Avenue, thank you. It has been a joy. And to your pastor and his sweet wife, thank you. Thank you. I mean that sincerely. Thank you, thank you. Would you pray for us as we pray for you at the Christian Action Commission? We are excited about our Christian Leadership Institute at Blue Mountain College for high school young men and young ladies. They'll come in Monday afternoon, July the 8th. They'll leave Friday afternoon, July the 12th. And we will bring in 8 keynote speakers, politicians, military personnel. We will bring them speakers who are going to challenge them to possibly run for public office, but to be a leader in the schoolroom, in the factory, wherever they may choose or God chooses for them. So if you've got a young man or a young lady that you know in your family, maybe a grandchild that you think might enjoy our Christian Leadership Institute at Blue Mountain, we would love to have their name and contact information. So you pray for that week. But again, thank you, thank you, thank you, Pastor. If I ask you tonight, what would be the most popular psalm? Again, I think it's pretty obvious to everybody what is the number one answer of the most popular, most memorized, most read, most quoted psalm. I think without a doubt it would be Psalm 23. Probably Psalm 23 only comes in second to John 3:16. But then when you open it up, and I do in small groups, when you open it up, what would be number 2? Then you've got a pretty good short list, because there are some wonderful, wonderful psalms. But one of my favorites, and I believe is number 2, is Psalm 100. And I'm going to ask you to turn there for the next few moments, because we're going to stitch in and out of Psalm 100 for the next few minutes. And I want you to understand something, and your pastor already alluded to it. There are sermons. There are. And then there are messages. I want you to know, as we go through this for the next few minutes, I'm sharing with you something I go through nearly every day. I want you to remember what I share with you, so that the next time you have a tough day, you can go back through 4 points. And this is more than a sermon. This is something I live by, and I use it, and I need it on a regular basis. Make a joyful noise unto the Lord, all ye lands. Serve the Lord with gladness. Come before his presence with singing. Know ye that the Lord, he is God. It is he that hath made us, and not we ourselves. We are his people and the sheep of his pasture. Enter into his gates with thanksgiving, and into his courts with praise. Be thankful unto him, and bless his name. For the Lord is good, his mercy is everlasting, and his truth endureth to all generations. You may be seated. I call this the Century Psalm. And as I read the Century Psalm, I want to make a commitment to you. I will be joyful. I will be joyful. Make a joyful noise unto the Lord. Serve the Lord with what? Gladness. Come before his presence with, when you hear somebody singing or whistling or humming, 9 out of 10 times, they're pretty happy about something. And so, I will be joyful. Now, when I first started preaching this, and we itinerants only need 5 sermons. We just preach them over and over and over. When I first started preaching this, I'll confess to you, point number 1 was not, I will be joyful. Point number 1 was, I need to be joyful. That's the way I preached it. I need to be joyful. Well, I want you to understand tonight, that ain't good enough. Right. It ain't a matter of saying, I need to be joyful. No, I will be joyful. I want you to understand something tonight. Happy is a condition. I'll vote for it. I like being happy. Happy is a condition, but joyful is a choice, a willful choice. I will be joyful. First Peter's written to the persecuted church. It was the annual Bible study last year. And in the letter written to the persecuted church, Peter said, you can have joy unspeakable and full of glory. My mama died in 13 of pancreatic cancer. Our 17-year-old son, Austin, died in 14. And my preacher daddy died of prostate cancer in 15. I will be joyful. I tend to be a little melancholy. I tend to be a little heavy. Have you picked up on that the last 4 days? My wife says I have the gift of negativity. What an encouragement. And that's why I go through this on a regular basis. I will be joyful. Count it all joy, James. Count it all joy when you fall into divers troubles and tribulations and disasters and tragedies. I will be joyful. A song that was never intended, Slater, to be a Christmas carol has gotten lumped into December. But as a pastor, I'd often ask my music minister to turn over to it, and we'd sing, "Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. I will be joyful." Can you name the 7 dwarfs? There's what? Sleepy, sneezy, Doc, dopey, bashful. Now I'm ready. Grumpy and happy. I'm just afraid among Baptists, we've got more grumpies than we do happies. And I'm telling you, as I work through this on a daily basis, I will be joyful. Number 2. Look at verse 3. Know ye that the Lord, He is God. It is He that hath made us, and not we ourselves. We are His people and the sheep of His pasture. Here's number 2. I will be mindful. I will be mindful. He's on the throne. He's in control. He's all powerful. And He loves us. And I can trust Him. Amen. And if I will just remind myself of this truth, it makes life go a lot smoother. Sitting there in the traffic at Florence, I tried to work my way through this Psalm 100. I'm not saying it's easy, but I am telling you, we can trust Him. Nothing can happen to a child of God without His permission. What happened to Job wasn't God's idea, it was Satan's idea. But Satan couldn't do one thing to Job without God's permission. And nothing can happen to me or any of my loved ones without His permission. I'm not a Calvinist. Sorry. I don't believe in double predestination. But I definitely believe in single predestination. That we are predestined to be conformed to the image of His Son. Predestination has nothing to do with justification. It has everything to do with sanctification. That's what single predestination means. A lost person's going to hell. He doesn't need a spiritual gift. He doesn't need a plan. He doesn't need a game book. He's lost. He's going to hell. Only the saved need a playbook. And predestination's your playbook. And God's got a plan for my life. And if I could just quit worrying about it. Do you ever worry? We've got this idea that women worry more than men. That's crazy. I'll also tell you this idea that men never cry. That's crazy too. And if I can just stay mindful, He's on the throne, He's in control, and I can trust Him. Number 3. Look at verse 4. Enter into His gates with thanksgiving, and into His courts with praise. Be thankful unto Him and bless His name. Let's see now. I will be joyful. Doesn't matter what happens. I will be joyful. I will be mindful. And I will be thankful. Now listen to me. The Bible never teaches for you to be thankful for all things. I didn't tell you, my mama taught me my grammar, and the preposition is not for. The preposition is in. I don't have to be thankful that a lost soul dies and goes to hell. Are you hearing me? I do not have to be thankful that a drunk driver runs over and kills a 4-year-old. No. But in all things, we can be thankful. If you look around, you may have to look a little while. There's always something to be thankful for. My 26-year-old wife was killed by a drunk driver out in East Texas. That's the worst thing that had ever happened to me up to that point. And yet, as I got in my car at Grand Saline, Texas, doing a revival, and pulled out on the road, I was thankful. I've been misunderstood. I've been misquoted. Just take a number and get in line. But you hear me. You say, how in the world could you be thankful when you just found out your 26-year-old wife was dead and in a funeral home at Henderson, Texas? Because she and Linda Dixon, a friend, a fellow school teacher, were headed west. When the accident occurred that Sunday night, they were going west. When they made that trip east on Friday afternoon, my 5-year-old little boy was in the car with them. You better believe one casket is better than 2. And that little 5-year-old boy who's now in his 40s, works for MDOT. He and his sweet wife and our 2 grandkids live in Fulton. There's always something to be thankful for. As an 18-year-old pastor, I did a funeral for 4 caskets. A mama and 3 children that I pastored were all killed in a car wreck. I've done a multi-casket funeral. And I'm telling you, what kept me going in those days was not only what happened on that pew over there, but knowing I had a 5-year-old little boy still alive in Fulton, Mississippi. Are you hearing me? Losing my wife's the worst thing that happened to me up to that point. And yet I could still be thankful. We live in a 2nd-floor apartment overlooking Carter's Jewelers parking lot there in Jackson. We live downtown Jackson. I'll go jogging and then I'll get me a cup of coffee. My wife will get a cup of coffee and we'll go out on that little porch, 2nd-floor porch, looking out over High Street. I just imagine it's the South Pacific. But when we first moved into that little apartment 2.5 years ago and would sit out on that porch, there'd be a medical helicopter fly over nearly every day. Our son Austin was airlifted from car rent to the med in a helicopter. I'm going to be honest with you. Seeing a medical helicopter would just put me in a funk. And then it dawned on me one day, Kenny, if Austin had not made it to the med, you'd always wondered. If Austin had not arrived at one of the greatest trauma centers in the world, where he spent 9 days, if he had not arrived there. Now I remember when we got word on our way up there, because the helicopter got there before we did. Now I remember when the phone call came, we've arrived safely and Austin is still alive. So it dawned on me, you shouldn't resent a medical helicopter. You ought to be thankful for a medical helicopter. Because a medical helicopter got rid of any what if that might have occurred. And now, Pastor, when I see a medical helicopter, I am thankful. Now there's one more. I will be joyful. I will be mindful. I will be thankful. Look at verse 5. For the Lord is good. His mercy is everlasting. And His truth endure forever. Here's number 4. I will be truthful. Are y'all country enough for me to tell you that point 4 is the linchpin for the whole sermon? Do y'all understand linchpin? A linchpin is something that if you've hooked up a trailer and you got the back closed and whatever you're doing, there may be a lot of pressure there. As long as you've got it shut and then got a linchpin. And the pressure's not on the linchpin, the pressure is on what you're doing. But if you ain't got that linchpin, then that trailer can come loose. That tailgate can fall down. A linchpin is what holds something together. A lot of times you go through and there's a little wire that comes around and attaches over the top of it. I'm telling you, I will be truthful is the linchpin for the whole thing. If you're not truthful, you ain't got nothing to be joyful about. I'm not Joel Holstein. And somebody says, if you're going to call his name, you at least need to get it correct. I did. He's full of bull. Every day ain't Friday. There's some Mondays. And if you ain't got the truth, none of the rest of the sermon amounts to nothing. If you ain't got the truth, there's nothing to be thankful for. But I will be truthful. Know the truth, and the truth will make you free. You say, now, Brother Kenny, you're supposed to speak the truth in love. I'll tell you, you can take the truth and triple dip it in chocolate, and some Baptists still won't like it. I understand. I need to work on my bedside manner. Somebody says, how in the world do you ever get asked to preach anywhere? By the grace of God. I'm going to stick with the truth, whether it's the governor, or whether it's a senator, or whether it's a Baptist congregation. I'm here to tell you, right here it is. Yes. The truth. Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. I'm not a connoisseur of movies, but I like watching a good movie every now and then. A Few Good Men. Any of you know where I'm going with this? For Tom Cruise had Jack Nicholson in the witness chair. And Tom Cruise is pushing his buttons. And Tom Cruise gets Jack Nicholson worked up and overwrought to the point that at the end of that movie, Jack Nicholson screams from the witness stand, "You can't handle the truth." We've got a lot of folks in the world today who can't handle the truth. I'm here to tell you, if you ain't got the truth, you ain't got nothing. I will be joyful. I will be mindful. I've been tempted to worry this week about something. I'm tempted to worry about the CLI I just told you about. I will be mindful. He's in control.
Yes.
I will be thankful. Boy, won't that solve jealousy and greed and ambition. Nobody asked me if I wanted to do it. I'll be thankful, but I will be truthful. If you've never been saved, you need to get born again. It doesn't matter how long you've been a church member. It doesn't matter how long you've been baptized. Would you be truthful with yourself? Would you? Because if you're not saved, you need to trust Jesus. 3 people were truthful enough Sunday morning to say, I need believer's baptism. Anybody else? Maybe somebody here tonight needs to be truthful. God's called you to preach and you've never said yes. I will be joyful. I will be mindful. I will be thankful. That young man last night was in a combat zone, 20 miles from the explosion that took our soldiers' lives. You better know it looking back last night and seeing that green shirt. I will be thankful. I will be truthful. I believe there's some of y'all just need to come on down here. Come on now. If you can't kneel on this altar, come sit on the front pew. I believe there's some of y'all need to join me. I don't believe I'm the only one that tends to be a little melancholy. And as we get older, it's going to get tougher. Are y'all with me? Billy Graham said, getting old was the biggest surprise of his Christian walk. He didn't realize how hard it was going to be to bury Ruth, be by himself. I'm just telling you. Whether getting older, facing medical issues, watching a child go through a divorce, watching a grandchild turn from their upbringing. I live in the real world. I go through this every day. I will be joyful. I will be mindful. I will be thankful. And I will be truthful. Later comes, as our pastor comes to the altar, any of y'all need to slip out and come kneel in this altar. Come sit on the pew. Come pray with your pastor and make a commitment tonight. I will be joyful. I will be mindful. I will be thankful. I will be truthful. As we stand, as we sing our invitation, do you need to come?